This report, written with Steve Iredale from the National Association of Head Teachers, looks at the rationales behind Primary Futures. Primary Futures is a national campaign which allows primary schools to find employee volunteers in their communities who can help them across a whole range of different activities. And the research literature related to employer engagement in primary education is limited, but it does provide some consistent themes, and by reviewing it we can make sense of how schools have used employees to support the learning and progression of young people. And clearly there's a long tradition of primary schools working with employers. Workplace visits, reading partners, number partners, enterprise activities are quite well known, but they're not really conceptualised or thought of, made sense of, in terms of an aspect of employer engagement. They're something that just happens, that is done within the life of primary schools. And I think one of the things you can do by stepping back and looking at the literature is to try and make I suppose a more coherent sense of making use of the employers within the primary curriculum. And we find that firstly there's a whole body of work which is about pupil knowledge and skills. It's about how can we draw on employers to support the learning of young people, and we see this in reading partners and literacy activity. We see it in number partners. Of the two, probably sort of like reading partners is the one which is the best literature. There's a very good literature review by Togerson and colleagues, looked at 8 randomised controlled trials, and it found that circumstances vary, but there is evidence that these making a positive impact for young people. A good piece of work by Sarah Miller and colleagues in Queen's University Belfast found a very similar result, that the reading of young people can improve through use of non-trained volunteers from workplaces or other places to be able to help young people. More specifically about kind of employee volunteers is enterprise activities, and there's a very long tradition of schools working with local employers to support enterprise activities which pupils routinely enjoy enormously. So firstly we have knowledge and skills, second we have attitudes and aspirations. There are a number of very good longitudinal studies which looked at the relationship between young people's children's career aspirations, career thinking as 7-year-olds, and what happens to them later on. And we find that there's a relationship between higher levels of aspiration and behaviour within school, with the controls for all the things which might otherwise determine behaviour within schools, but also we find relationship with attainment later on in life. And we find that in addition that many young people at this young age are ruling things out or ruling things in. Is it relevant to me? Do people like me do science? Does science have a meaning for me? Does different subjects have meaning for me? And this is a very short step to think about gender stereotyping. That young children often find very gendered ideas about jobs and careers very early. Things are ruled out or ruled in, and we really want people to think about careers far more critically. But perhaps the biggest area really is just thinking about bringing learning to life. And this is how I think schools most make use of employee volunteers, is that they can help show young people that English literacy is not just about passing SATs or pleasing teachers. It's about a modern working world and its uses across that. So we can see the way that schools are using employers as an extra resource within the classroom, but also as a way which supplements what teachers are able to do, providing new insights and new authentic information which helps children at still a young age make better sense of their education. In delivering Primary Futures, the idea is very simple. That in any community there are thousands upon thousands of young people, there are thousands upon thousands of people who, if asked, we're only too happy to go into a local school to share what they know, to be supportive. What Primary Futures does is it makes it easy for the primary school teachers to find those people and to find them, to talk to them about activities which they understand themselves. Primary Futures is about making it quick, easy and free for primary schools to find people in their community who can provide practical help to children in the classroom.